Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
I think it's the end of week 12. This is the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast, by the way. We have reached the end of week 12. It's Tuesday, November 26th. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me.
What's up?
Rick's having a tough time staying awake right now.
That's all I'll say.
Today we got a lot to get to. Waiver wire ads, streaming options, quick reactions. We're going to start with the news. Before we get into the news from the week, check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the FFChamps on Twitter, at the Fantasy Champions on Instagram. Go to facebook.com/thefantasychampions. Now, I do want to note, if somebody wants to write Twitter an email and just say, allow people to use extended usernames, then we could just make our username universal so no one would be confused by what our Twitter handle is and our Instagram handle is. It would be as simple as that.
Yeah, but that would make life too easy.
It would make life way too easy. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen. Click the bell on YouTube for notifications if you're listening on YouTube. Leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Let's get to the news. The Patriots, I guess we talked a little bit about this last week, what was going on, and we floated the idea of the possibility of maybe a return for Antonio Brown to the New England Patriots. Well, reports from inside the Patriots organization is that they are kicking the tires.
Oh,
the proverbial tires on Antonio Brown. The Athletic's Jeff Howe reports the Patriots are not interested in re-signing free agent Antonio Brown.
So what report said that they were kicking the tires?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember who reported it, but they were. I think it might have been Ian Rappaport. But that could be wrong. So then a day after, because analysts like to have reporters like to have small battles with each other as to who's right and who's wrong. Jeff Howe reports that they're not interested in re-signing Antonio Brown.
really don't think they're going to re-sign him.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but it would be fun.
Yeah. The Patriots fan in you is like, yeah, we could kind of use him.
Yeah, but somebody in our league picked him up. Oh, he dropped him.
Picked him up, then dropped him, yeah.
All right, yeah.
That's going to happen in like every league.
Yeah, he's going to keep getting picked up.
Picked up and then dropped after a day.
It'll be like, oh, God, why am I holding on to this guy? Yeah, I don't think he's going to sign, but I think there's a shot. There's a better chance that Antonio Brown resigns to the Patriots than Rob Gronkowski coming back. That took a lot to say.
Yeah.
Gronk is also getting extremely pissed off that people continue to ask him. Have you watched like Fox at all?
Not really.
Every time he comes on, they ask him if he's coming back, and he's visibly becoming upset by it.
Well, like he's kind of putting him on himself a little bit.
It was. I think it was a joke. The video of him announcing his big party in Miami.
Yeah.
It was kind of like come back and play football. Like it was a joke. Like, I'm not coming back to play football.
Well, people have said like he's got a big announcement coming. He promoted a big announcement. It's obviously going to get Patriots fans excited.
But even when it's after that, they continue to ask him the question. Like,
no, I know. Yeah.
We know he's not coming back.
No, you shouldn't ask him. But I'm just saying he
works for your network and he's getting asked the question by the other.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So Jets signed an extension with tight end
Chris Herndon.
Ryan Griffin/Chris Herndon.
Ryan Herndon.
And he is signing a 3-year contract extension. So in fantasy terms, this is bad news bears for
Chris Herndon.
But Ryan Griffin is showing that he can continue to succeed in the Jets offense. We knew all along that they like to throw the tight ends, more specifically Adam Gase. So we'll see what happens with Ryan Griffin. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports that George freaking Kittle has been dealing with a broken bone in his ankle, which he played through last night.
And dominated.
He's a monster. I'm pretty sure he's taking some form of morphine straight into his leg.
Yep.
I'm surprised he can
would
feel
not doubt that.
Mason Rudolph was benched in the third quarter of the Steelers' Week 12 game against the Bengals.
He sucks.
They are tossing around the idea of heading in the different direction at quarterback.
Yeah,
according to Ian Rappaport.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Hunter Renfrow broke a rib and punctured his lung on Sunday. That seems intense.
Yeah.
And then Matthew Stafford and the Lions have discussed sitting for the rest of the season.
Now, that report came out, or not that report, but when he originally got the back injury, there was somebody that said, like, this is a type of injury that you probably should sit out the entire season. But because it's Matt Stafford, he tried to play the very next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised at all if Stafford doesn't play another game this season.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with Matt Stafford, I guess. He's only 31 years old. So.
Yeah, I would. That's why I'd sit
probably
him.
shut him down.
Yeah.
If it was anybody else. Stafford's a psychopath.
They're not going to make the playoffs
He
either.
freaking broke his shoulder and threw a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
So he's freaking insane. Jakeem Grant suffered an ankle injury. This is the 9 millionth wide receiver on the Dolphins.
Yeah.
It looks to be serious, and he looks to not play, which spells even better things for Devontae Parker and the continued
He's already
success
been pretty
of him.
solid.
Ian Rappaport reports that Eric Ebron will be placed on injured reserve.
What?
So not only was I right about Eric Ebron busting this year, but he also is going on injured reserve. So
does this mean that Jack Doyle shows?
I doubt it.
Your guy?
So the interesting thing is that coming into the season, my takes on Jack Doyle were specifically because of Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
And his the amount that he threw to the tight end position. But Brissett doesn't throw the tight end position as much as...
No, he doesn't.
As much
he
as...
He kind of just throws to
does.
the open man.
Yep. So I'm thinking that, it doesn't really matter that Ebron's out. I mean, I guess it gives a tiny bump to Jack Doyle, but I doubt that Jacoby Brissett's going to throw any more than he did to Jack Doyle. Jaguars coach Doug Marrone said he hasn't considered a quarterback change after losing 2 straight under quarterback Nick Foles.
Oh.
He's okay. He's generic. He's exactly what you expect him to be.
I know.
See, the thing is, when he was with the Eagles, is that he wasn't good, but he was a lot of things made up for that. And now he's sitting here, and every time he gets his own thing, he just blows.
Yeah,
and
he hasn't been.
the job
It's not
in
like
5
he's been
minutes.
terrible.
They were
It's
losing
just-
42-7, I think, at the start of the third quarter.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they got down real fast. Do you think he should be benched? There are rumors floating around. I've heard from some birdies that this offseason they will trade Nick Foles.
Trade Nick Foles or Minshew?
Trade Nick Foles and run
Okay.
with Minshew.
Interesting.
But Nick Foles has this massive contract you idiot signed. So there's that.
They're gonna have to deal with that. Nick Foles to the Pats?
No, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
So we replace one old quarterback with another old quarterback.
He's not that old, isn't he? Like 30?
Nick Foles?
Yeah.
Yeah, which means we get 5 years.
Yeah.
It's not like he's eating avocado ice cream and training like LeBron. According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, I already talked about that. Falcons coach Dan Quinn expects Devonta Freeman to resume practicing this week. So I don't know that you want to put Devonta Freeman in your lineup at this point. I mean, he was getting 11 points a game before he got hurt.
Yeah.
So,
That's fair.
Golden Tate entered the league's concussion protocol. Not sure why, but now you got Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton from nowhere continuing to appear. I think he had 80 yards this week.
Did he? And I think
Yeah, something
Daniel
like that.
Jones only threw 160. So
There you go. And then the Seahawks. This is a point that we'll probably want to talk about for a little bit. The Seahawks. Actually, you know what? We will save the conversation about this to our quick reaction segment. But Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll said there's no reason to not get the ball. Or not get Rashaad Penny back in with Chris Carson in Week 13 against the Vikings, hinting at an RBBC between. How many times did they do this? Chris Carson and Rashaad Penny. All right, so let's get into our quick reactions. We're going to discuss some of our biggest thoughts and takeaways from Week 12. Let's start with that very thing as a segue.
okay.
Because last week we spent an hour talking about the same thing twice. So there's that. Chris Carson is losing control of his job because of his one problem. That's fumbling. He's spectacular in every aspect of the game, except he fumbles like every week. And in this game, early in the game, I believe, against the Seahawks, he fumbled.
It was against the Eagles.
Eagles, I'm sorry. I said Seahawks. They are the Seahawks. Against the Eagles, he fumbled early in the game, and then they started to go with the hot hand, is what they said. And they gave it to Rashaad Penny, who had a very good day, while Chris Carson struggled with the work that he got. So I feel like this has been as good as Chris Carson has been this year, fantasy football-wise, and in real life. The one problem that has been like sitting behind him, like waiting to overtake him, is the fumbles. And when you have a first-round running back sitting behind you who doesn't fumble the football, I could probably play.
Well, Penny has fumbled. He does fumble a decent amount.
Yeah. Maybe it's the coaching staff.
Yeah.
But so is Chris Carson losing control of his job at this point?
Losing control is a strong term.
I like strong words.
Yeah, I don't know if I go that far.
I like exaggerating.
But Penny's definitely going to get work. But this happened earlier this season. People forget. Like, this isn't the first time that happened. Remember when Carson fumbled like 2 times in week 3?
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to give Penny the work, and then Penny blew the next week. So let's see what happens this week.
I feel like
but Penny is going to get more carries, and I think he should, because you spent a first round pick on him. Like, and I'm not even talking fancy wise, but like the Seahawks should be using Penny more, considering how much they invested in him. And he is a good player.
Right.
But fantasy wise,
I think the problem is, and I've seen this many times with these rookie these second year rookie running backs this year. We saw Ronald Jones. Oh, we're going to give Ronald Jones more work. The following week, they give Ronald Jones more work. He has a decent game, but
and they go right back.
It's not necessarily that they go right back. It's that they haven't built enough momentum in their career to have an opportunity to succeed. So then when they face a tough matchup the following week and absolutely suck, it's because they're a young running back and they haven't built any momentum up. Like they don't like Dalvin Cook started the season so freaking hot that it just carried out throughout the rest of the year, and he's a freaking awesome running back. I think Rashaad Penny's talented, and I think Ronald Jones is talented, but they're just not given enough opportunity. So if you're going to go with Chris Carson, go with Chris Carson. Pick a direction.
No, I agree.
But like, stop playing with this. Pete Carroll loves to play with this idea in his head that he's going to go RBBC, and then he always goes back.
He doesn't want to go RBBC. He wants to have a guy.
But like last year, they started it. It was like 8-9 weeks.
No, I know,
season.
but how did they finish?
It was Carson, it was Davis, it was Penny, and it was like a different guy every week. And then they finished the season. He wants to go with a main running back, but for some reason he keeps getting himself back.
You know why?
Is
because he has 2 good running backs, so he has to use both.
So stupid. Well, yeah, it's the same thing with Denver. They drafted Royce Freeman to be the guy, and then all of a sudden, because Chris Carson was an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, Chris Carson is the Philip Lindsay of this.
Exactly. It's the same situation. Is that you got this young, talented running back sitting on the bench because you had an undrafted rookie free agent earn the job and who's outplaying the other person. So my thing is like, why waste your time? Like, Denver is Denver. But Seattle wants to go with a main running back. Why waste your time with Rashaad Penny? Why not trade him at the deadline for?
I would have traded Penny, but honestly, in the offseason, I might try to trade Carson.
You probably couldn't get a second round pick, but you get the picture.
Yeah.
So as far as fantasy is concerned, if they do give the ball more to Rashaad Penny, which we bent down this is our waiver wire show. We're going to talk about Rashaad Penny and whether he's pick upable in a few minutes. But I just feel like you're going to pick up Rashaad Penny. This is what's going to happen to me. Like, you're going to pick up Rashaad Penny. Chris Carson's going to get all the work, and you're going to drop Rashaad Penny. That's basically what this is going to be.
Yeah.
If you have any waiver budget left, which we'll talk about later, but like, I like Chris Carson and I like Rashaad Penny. So I want both of them to succeed, but I don't think that both can succeed in that environment.
No.
If they do, assuming they do give Rashaad Penny more work, this hurts Chris Carson.
Yeah.
I think the value that you thought you had in Chris Carson, if you own him, is, and you can speak more to that because you have him in like 2 leagues. But Chris Carson, like, I think on the ECR and on Fantasy Pros, he's ranked at 8 or 9.
He's a low-end RB1.
I think this takes him out of the low. If you're in a 12-team league, he probably still a low-end RB1. But if you're in like a 10-team league, I think this
it drops him like 2 spots.
Yeah, like 11 or 12, I would say.
Okay, so 3 or 4 spots.
Like he's no different to me than Melvin Gordon, probably.
I think Melvin Gordon's better than Chris Carson. I own both.
Well, I mean, in real life, yes, but I'm talking fantasy.
I know
football
fantasy-wise too. I would take Melvin Gordon over Chris Carson. That's a discussion for a different day, I guess.
Okay,
but
right. Anyway, so yeah, Chris Carson's not going to be the same guy that you wanted him to be. If you're fighting for a playoff spot, you're just fighting to get in, and Chris Carson is your number 1 running back, your RB1, you're in trouble.
yeah,
you're in big trouble. Leonard Fournette hit pay dirt finally. I told you a story where I ran around my house and screamed he scored when he scored a 1-yard touchdown run. How hard is it for this man to get into the end zone? He has so many opportunities, and Jacksonville just blows. So they just can't get the ball in the red zone. And then when they do, they make like stupid decisions, like chuck it up to Chark and their tight end 5 times. And it's like, maybe you should try to give it to your other playmakers too. So finally, Leonard Fournette scores. Is this the all Leonard Fournette owners want right now is just, as a Leonard Fournette owner, I just want 1 touchdown a week for the rest of the season.
Is Jacksonville's offense good enough for that?
No. We see what Leonard Fournette in this game. You saw what Leonard Fournette could be. 32 fantasy points and half PPR. So it's like he could be a monster in fantasy football if he just scored touchdowns. It's as simple as that.
It wasn't even like, 4 yards per carry is decent. I think that's pretty good. But it's not like he was crazy on the ground. He just got a lot of work.
Yeah. No, that's literally what. So,
but that's a good thing. Like that's
in our league, I think I was back into the second round, and then I was early third round. And so in the third round, I was like, I'm definitely taking a running back. But I'm like, I have the pick of all the running backs in the third and the fourth round at this point. So, like, which ones do I want? So I went through them like, we have Kerryon, we have Aaron Jones, we have Leonard Fournette, we have Devonta Freeman. And I was like, I don't like Freeman because he's old. I don't really like Kerryon is because he hasn't really proven himself yet. Right. And it's like kind of a risky pick. To me, it was between Aaron Jones and Leonard Fournette. Lo and behold, both of them are like battling it out for 5 right now.
Yeah.
But I took Leonard Fournette over Aaron Jones just because I didn't really believe in
I would have taken Fournette there in that
LaFleur.
spot too. Yeah.
So anyway, Fournette has been. He can be if Jacksonville just gets into the red zone a little bit more. Leonard Fournette can be a league winner. And this is a question that is asked on every fantasy football podcast ever. If you listen to fantasy football podcasts, you probably heard this question a million times. But I got this question for you. You can answer it.
Okay.
Just off the top of your head. Every year, there's 1 or 2 players that are on almost every championship team.
Yeah.
Last year, Christian McCaffrey came out of nowhere. He was your 3rd, 4th round pick. He was the guy that was like, he was the guy that won you your leagues. You won last year, and you had Christian McCaffrey. This year, who is that guy?
Fournette's a good guess. I'd have to look, to be honest. But Fournette's honestly, and I'm not, and you have him on your team. Yeah. So I don't want to hype you up too much, but that is a good guess because his rest of the season schedule too is really good. That's what I would probably look at.
Yeah.
Who's been great already this season, and who's going to also finish strong.
Right.
Like, the playoff schedules are going to matter. And Fournette, I think, plays. So he plays Tampa, which has improved on the run, but it's still Tampa Bay. Then he plays the Chargers that rank 26th against running backs.
That's next week, right? 13? Yep.
And then he plays the Raiders and Falcons.
Yeah.
So that's 3 or 4.
Pretty gross.
3 or 4 good matchups.
Yeah. I mean, and your playoffs are what are key there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's
14, 15, 16.
There's plenty of guys that have really good games and breakouts and all that stuff, and then they get to like the playoffs and they're just completely worthless because they're scared. Like Dak Prescott. A lot of people would be, oh my God, Dak and Russell Wilson, those guys are going to win champion. No, they're not. Because Dak is facing maybe the hardest schedule for quarterbacks left besides Josh Allen. And those 2 guys, literally, it's just, I don't know. But for me, you know who it is. It's between 3 guys.
Okay.
It's Fournette. If he can score more touchdowns towards the end of the season, he could definitely be a league winner. Dalvin Cook, who has a way
he's
schedule than Fournette.
kind of an obvious one. I wouldn't even consider him a league winner because at this point he's like.
Well, no, I mean like where people drafted him.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Then
but
Dalvin
because
Cook.
you were able to get like if the ADP held up in our league, that was who I was going to draft in the second round, but he ended up falling into the, or not falling, but he got drafted like with like the 14th pick maybe.
Yeah.
So, but like where he got drafted,
Chris Godwin. If you're going by that, then Chris Godwin
right.
could be another league winner
right?
too.
He's a 4th round pick who ended up being a what is he, top 3 wide receiver
He's
right
number
now?
2 right now, I think.
So, he's been very good.
Nick Chubb, maybe? Not anymore, actually. But
Yeah, Chubb has been disappointing.
he would have been before his bye.
But yeah, you see Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Chris Godwin. Those 3 guys have like really easy schedules.
Is Michael
rest of the
Thomas? I
season.
know he was like a early second round pick, but the way he's played this year, would you consider him a league winner? I would actually.
Yeah. You're going to see a lot of champions. I would actually agree with that. You see a lot of championship.
You know what Michael Thomas has scored his last 4 weeks?
Yeah, 20 points a game.
21, 21, 21, 21.
He's a monster.
That is insane.
Tell me the targets. It's 12 a game, right? Somewhere around
11, 14, 10, 11.
It's ridiculous. It's freaking unbelievable. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of championship teams with Mike Thomas.
Yeah.
So he's been a monster. But everyone asked that question. I think it's like 3-4 guys that were just, and I think we hit on all of them.
Yeah, I mean, those probably all of
them. Baker, is he back?
He played the Dolphins.
Or not? Yeah,
So.
He played the Dolphins. Yeah.
I think, but I've been saying the last few weeks that he's been okay. And he plays Pittsburgh this week, so I mean we'll see the revenge game. But after that he has Arizona and Cincy, so he could have 2 good games right there. So
he's at home. Is he at home against Pittsburgh or on the road?
He's on the road.
See, I'm more nervous about Baker on the road than I am. Like if he faces a tough matchup at home, I feel a little bit better about it.
Yeah.
But there are going to be a lot of people that see Baker and go, "Oh, he had what was it? 18, 19, 20 plus." I don't remember I think it was like 20.
Yeah, he was 18, 19, 23, 26.
Yeah, so they're going to be like, "Oh, here comes the Baker Mayfield breakout." And then they're going to play him this week against Pittsburgh on the road and he's going to get like 10 points.
Yeah.
And then he'll be the most dropped quarterback. Avoid that situation. Don't just start Baker.
Yeah.
When we say Baker is back, what do we mean by that? That's the first thing.
Back to being an average quarterback.
What is he back to?
Yeah.
My thing is like, over the second half of the season, I was sitting here thinking like, are we going to have a Baker Mayfield breakout?
Maybe a little bit.
Like him and possibly Darnold?
Yeah.
So like all offseason we get to sit there and talk about how Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold are going to have good years next year.
I think you could definitely make that case for both those guys because their schedules.
Yeah.
And they've, especially Mayfield, has been so bad beforehand to start the season.
Trash.
So
yeah,
I think he's too good of a player, and I know a lot of people don't like Mayfield, but I do think he's still a decent quarterback.
Right.
Where
they also he's very similar. He's more mobile than the OGs, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. I feel like I feel like an old man saying they're the OGs now.
People compared him to Brett Favre, which is...
Yeah, so he can move around,
mm-hmm.
and he likes to sling it, obviously, which is where he draws comparisons to Brett Favre. His problem is that people have been calling him a one-read quarterback, and when he gets pressure applied to him, he just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
He literally just throws it to the first guy, and it causes interceptions. It does all of that. So, like Miami... I think they had like the 5th worst rush, pass rush in the NFL. So, I mean, obviously they couldn't get to him. But next week against Pittsburgh, are they going to be able to get to Baker a lot more than they did the first time around? And if that's the case, does Baker Mayfield struggle? I noticed their offensive line during the stretch of games where Baker Mayfield is like improved, and the offense has gotten better. The pass protection has been better. So if the pass protection continues to improve, Baker Mayfield is going to be a good quarterback. It's only a matter of time. I hope it's a breakout because I love Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Love everything about him, but he's I don't know. He's an interesting player. I have a feeling that he's going to get like 8 points against freaking Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, no, at Pittsburgh, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
But then that's what makes me nervous is that then he
could come out after that against.
I
Cincy
know, but
home
it's
and
like
get
then
20.
it makes me question as a team who's moving forward rest of season probably streaming quarterbacks. I don't want to get like if he has a good game against Pittsburgh, then I want him on my team the following 2 weeks. But it's like it makes me kind of feel gross if he has an 8-point game and then I got to pick him up and start him and I'm like, ugh. Loses all his confidence. DJ Moore is playing like a wide receiver 1. He had 28 fantasy points, I believe, this week. So finally,
the last 3 weeks has been. I mean, honestly, the last
there's finally a receiver. I really liked Curtis Samuel, and there was in the fantasy football world and community, there was a large amount of people hyping up Curtis Samuel's route running. And he's a great route runner. He's speedy. He's very talented. He's a very good football player. But DJ Moore is a first-round pick and a special talent. And at some point, this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand why people thought it was going to be Curtis Samuel.
I think there was like a week in the offseason where you agreed. You were actually on that train.
What, Curtis Samuel?
Yeah, but then you hopped right off.
Yeah, I was like, see you later. I love DJ. It's because DJ Moore was going up and up and up to normal people, and I was like, this is no longer like a sleeper. Up, like where he was drafted, I still wouldn't want him on my team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's been worth it though. Actually, if you look,
what's his numbers?
He's had. So I'll go through the whole season very fast. 9, 13, 12, 5, 12, 12, 6, 13, 16, 13, 28.
He just needs more consistency.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from better quarterback play.
He hasn't really had a big game prior to this one, but he's been, relatively he's been a wide receiver too.
Yeah. He's at this point in the last few weeks at least, he's been playing like a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
I'm curious really quickly, when did he have that last 13-point game? Was it 4 weeks ago?
He had
his first 13-point game.
Oh, his first? It was week 2, actually.
Okay, after that, what's his last 4 games?
28, 13, 16, 13.
Okay, so this is the numbers. So DJ Moore over the last 4 weeks is the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy football.
Oh, wow.
Over the last 4 weeks. So he has 72 fantasy points. The number 1 wide receiver is a guy by the name of Jarvis Landry.
Not Michael Thomas?
It's Jarvis Landry, DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, and Michael Thomas.
Even though Michael Thomas is 21, 21, 21. Oh, because he had a bye. He had a bye in between there.
He had a bye week. So, yeah, DJ Moore, at this point, is he breaking out a little bit? I don't know.
I would say yes. And you know what's the best part about it?
Yeah.
Going back to week 6, so the week before his bye,
right.
He had 10 targets, 9 targets, 10 targets, 11 targets, 15, and 9. So he's getting at least 9 targets a game.
What is that going back to?
Week 6.
Let's take it back to week 6 and see where he lands.
That was also there was also a buy in between.
So who was the there was only in the top 10 there was only 2 receivers that played 7 games, Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay. DJ Moore was number 9.
Okay.
He had 90 fantasy points. Michael Thomas had 160.
So he's been a low end wide receiver 1 since
his bye.
Yeah. That cuts into his bye. So he played one less game.
So
and his rest is he plays Washington and then Atlanta the next 2 weeks. So he should have
what's his 14 and 15? Atlanta and
his 13 is Washington, his 14 is Atlanta, his 15 is Seattle.
So Seattle's a little bit tougher.
Seattle's
not by a lot.
Yeah, and it's at home, so he could get away with a decent game.
The thing that scares me about DJ Moore the most is he's getting more targets, but it's just his quarterback's Kyle Allen.
Yeah.
So it's not really like it's better than. I hate saying this, but it's better than Cam Newton. Because Cam Newton's a better quarterback. But
he doesn't
Kyle
throw
Allen
the ball as much.
Passes it more.
I got you.
So he's playing like a wide receiver 1. He does have an easy schedule to end the season. We'll see if he can continue it. And the only thing I wanted to talk about this because I faced Derrick Henry this week.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting there, just watching, the freaking Jaguars game because I had Leonard Fournette, and there was a 70-something yard run for Derrick Henry because Derrick Henry just freaking owns the Jags for some reason. He broke like 2-3 tackles and ran it for a touchdown. And then they kick it off after Derrick Henry scores, right? I think they actually might have called it a no touchdown, I believe, and then he punched it in from the 1, but I can't remember the sequence. But anyway, so they kicked it off to the Jaguars. The Jaguars fumbled, and then Derrick Henry ran it in for another touchdown. So he scored 2 touchdowns in a matter of 14 seconds.
Wow.
Which he started before that play, Rick. He was at 7 fantasy points in half PPR. 7 fantasy points. After that play, he was at 25. After that 12-second sequence, all of a sudden he was like, literally, I think a lot of people like closed their phone for like 5 seconds during went to go grab something to eat while watching football, and then they opened it again and they were like, "Why am I in the lead? What happened?" Derrick Henry happened. Now, we were talking before the show about Derrick Henry, and I don't like Derrick Henry at all.
Yeah, you haven't.
And I don't know why. I don't have a reason. I don't have a reasoning. I told you it's because he can't pass catch. So all he does is run on the ground, and it kind of caps him a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, he still has big weeks, but his bad weeks come more frequently than a guy like Leonard Fournette would. You know what I mean? Have them. So I just wanted to mention that sequence. Is there anything else from Sunday that you were just gawking over?
For me personally, it was just a personal thing. Was Jarvis Landry getting 31 fantasy points?
Yeah,
because I was facing him. So, but the Browns, Odell had a good week. Mayfield had a good week.
Yeah,
Jarvis Landry had a good week. Now they were playing the Dolphins, like I said, which is a giant asterisk. But
yeah,
they have a pretty good end of season schedule. So keep an eye on all those guys.
Right. Let's talk about
Nick Chubb had a good game too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So everybody did.
Oh yeah, 25. Points, yeah. I faced both of them and still won. Both Henry and Chubb. Let's do some waiver wire ads. What do you think?
Okay.
So we'll start with the. What do you want to start? Quarterback position. Wow. Actually, no. We'll start with the running back position. Forgive me. So, like I said earlier, Rashaad Penny, probably the number one waiver wire ad of the week for normal people who have brains. He's worth a sneaky little ad late in the season. It just depends on how much work he gets. I think a lot of people are going to be like picking this guy up. Mm-hmm. I cannot wait until Sunday morning when I get all the should I start Rashaad Penny questions, and that will be a resounding no. I'll just tell you right now.
Yeah,
I will point you to my podcast, and I'll tell you to listen to this episode right here.
And skip to exactly this part.
Yeah, I don't even know what the minute total
whatever
is.
It's going to be.
Yeah, whatever it's going to be. But Rashaad Penny, I think he's a great pickup. He's only owned in 23% of leagues.
Especially if you have Carson, too. I think he should be on your team.
Yeah, especially as a handcuff. But right now, I mean, he's not. He burned people, and they dropped him, and they don't want him. And now you can go out, pick him up. If you have a roster spot, go out, pick him up, leave him on your bench, and just wait.
Yeah.
And then if Chris Carson does fumble again or do something stupid where they bench him, and Rashaad Penny shows more and more that he can take the lead role, then you got a free running back off the waiver wire. But it's just more of a speculative ad. Don't pick him up in anticipation that he's going to be able to be something fantasy relevant right away.
Yep.
Because it only depends on how well if Chris Carson goes out this week and rushes for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, then Rashaad Penny won't see the field the rest of the season. But it just depends on what happens. If Penny has another really good week this week on like 12 to 15 touches, you're going to have a running back that could actually be good. Is there any other running backs that you're gawking over as you prepare for week 13?
See, there's really not a lot on this list. You could consider Snell, who, if James Conner continues to miss time, because Jalen's
missed a lot of time.
Right. And you don't, like, that injury feels like a nagging injury. So if he misses another week, he could be a good pickup because Jalen Samuels has been brutal.
Yeah.
And they've clearly gone away from him. So he could be a decent pickup. Other than that, you're just handcuffing, to be honest.
Right.
Some of these guys on the list, like Naheem Hines.
I'm trying to think of anybody
Frank
else.
Gore.
Frank Gore. You got to have the Gore.
But like Pollard is just a handcuff at this point.
I'm just trying
Madison's
to see if there's any
handcuff.
surprises this week on the waiver wire. Mostart scored a touchdown, got him 13 fantasy points.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. Snell, these are the numbers that he had when he played this week because he had 21 freaking carries.
Yep.
He had 98 yards, which is around five yards a carry.
Good.
Somewhere around that. And then he only had one target for 5 yards. One reception for 5 yards.
He caught it.
Yeah, at least he caught that one target. He could be. What happened to Jalen Samuels in the game? Did he just not play?
I think he just stunk.
He's blown.
Yeah, he when he's been out there, he's not been good.
Every time people think he's gonna be like
10.
Right.
I fell into that trap too. It was against Cincinnati. You think that's a good matchup?
No.
And then just he blows all of a sudden.
Yeah. So
he had 2 carries for 6 yards. That's interesting.
So Benny Snell actually is a very good pickup this week. He's only owned in 4% of leagues. I fully agree with you. If James Conner continues to miss time, Benny Snell is going to be the guy that takes the work, I think, at this point. I like Jalen Samuels, too. That's just too bad he blows.
Yeah. How unfortunate.
Let's talk about some wide receivers. Robby Anderson keeps hyping people up and then ripping the hearts away of many individuals who play him. I don't know. Should you pick up Robby Anderson?
I probably wouldn't, honestly.
He had
at this point. Well, so you might actually want to consider it just because his end of season schedule.
Yeah, no, I mean I've talked about that for weeks. It just is like it's so tough. It's literally so tough. What did he have? 16 fantasy points this week. He just doesn't. He doesn't get him and what's his dink? Jamison Crowder.
What's his dink?
Yeah, what's his dink? They just don't get enough targets to be considered like.
It's so weird because one week they will. Like 1 week Crowder will get his 14 targets and he'll go off, and then next week Robby Anderson will get 10 plus targets and he'll go off.
He only had 5 targets this week.
Really?
Yeah, Robby Anderson. So if Robby Anderson, where did he pass? Like where did he throw the football? Come on, Sam Darnold. If he had like 9 to 10 targets a game, he would be a wide receiver 1. I mean, he does enough to do it. It's just Sam Darnold when he faces a tough matchup, he kind of folds.
Yeah. And
it just isn't. It doesn't look good. I think Robby Anderson's worth a speculative add if you need a wide receiver. His, like Rick said, his end of season schedule is just great.
His and Crowder's.
Cincinnati has been actually okay against wide receivers, but they're just bad overall.
They're brutal.
But then he's got Miami, and then Baltimore and Pittsburgh's 2 tougher matchups. So I think if you're going to use them, it would be the next 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. But I just don't know how much you're going to get. At this point, waiver wire, your trade deadline's probably passed last week, and you're like, oh my God, I need a wide receiver.
If you're desperate to start a wide receiver, though, on the waiver wire at this point in the season, you're probably not in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely for true. One of the guys that we talked about last week that I wanted to point out, James Washington, he was not even just a pickup, he was a start, considering the circumstances that were presented to him without having Juju or Deontay Johnson and Jalen Samuels completely blowing. And then you have Benny Snell who can't catch passes, I guess. James Washington had 17 fantasy points, despite having to switch quarterbacks and all that stuff.
He only had 3 catches, though. He had 1 big play that got him.
What, really?
Yeah.
So Washington, he continues to be somebody that could be relatively decent.
The problem is now with the quarterback change, I don't even know if it's...
Yeah. He did have 7 targets, though.
He did.
So, I mean, I guess it's okay. But he does have Cleveland and then Arizona and then the Jets in Week 16. So he doesn't have an awful schedule the rest of the season. There's some games you want to sit him.
He could be worth a pickup, though, for sure.
And then a guy so Corey Davis is dead.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to
him. He's gone. And the guy that I told you about weeks ago, A.J. Brown, continues. He is a guy that just look at his numbers. It's so ugly. He has had 11-4, 0.9, 22, 3-3, 9-8, 10-2, and then 21. So
I'm sorry, I'm not.
He's a big play. The big thing with A.J. Brown is that he's a big play receiver, and I think if he has a good matchup and you need a start at either wide receiver or flex because you're desperate, or you need a win, then you could throw A.J. Brown in there and hope for it. Like, it's gross.
You got to be in a bad spot to want to do
gross.
that.
But the reason why I say this is because at any given game, A.J. Brown could just catch the ball for, 60 yards and a touchdown. Like, that's just exactly how A.J. Brown plays at this point.
Yeah.
He's extremely talented. He's good. If you're facing a team like you are like, the 5 seed in the playoffs, round 1 of the playoffs in week 14, right? You're like the 5 or 6 seed, and you're facing the best team, some of the best teams in the league, right? And you're like, I need a big game from somebody, and then you just throw crap at the wall and hope it sticks, and put A.J. Brown in there. If he gets one of these 21-point games, all of a sudden you're looking like a genius.
Yeah.
But don't throw the dart too many times at the wall and hope it hits the bullseye. It's pretty bad. But if you need a big game because my team's just not good enough to beat this other team, throw him in there. See what happens. You never know. I don't think he's a bad own if you want to pick him up. But it just depends on who you want to drop. Is there any other wide receivers that you're in love with?
Not really. I would consider picking up N'Keal Harry, but that's...
So, did you see this wide receiver here, Russell Gage or however you want to say his name?
Probably see Gage. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about him at all because I have no idea who he is. But somebody asked me on Twitter this week if you should start him. And I looked at the name and I was like, I hope that's a typo. Because I have no idea who that is. So I just told him not to start the guy. Did he do anything?
If he's on this
list, he might
probably did.
It's probably like a 10-point.
He didn't get a touchdown.
11 points.
I was going to say, he didn't get a touchdown because Matt Ryan didn't throw a touchdown. But
he had 10 targets, 8 receptions for 76
10
yards.
10 targets?
What the freak is he?
I'm so glad Matt Ryan is the quarterback and not throwing
what happened? Julio
Jones
Jones got hurt after the
Did
first
he?
half. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, like I said, anyone else that you would want to pick up, especially around playoff time here, for individuals who are at least trying to make it in Week 13?
I did not know that Julio Jones got injured this week, and he's on my fantasy team.
Yeah. This guy was too busy watching Disney Plus and not paying attention to his fantasy team.
Wait a minute. Let's calm down just a second here.
He's going to defend himself.
You can't tell me there's heat on Disney Plus, bro.
When there's NFL football on. See, we were like...
I had NFL football on.
Every time I'm like... Every time I'm like, oh, great, I got to watch this football game. And then I think, oh, my God, there's this time, in the summer where there's just baseball on. So, and then I'm like, okay, I'll watch a football game. And I enjoy it. Meanwhile, you're watching
football on,
You're
bro.
watching
There was football on.
You're watching Lion King 1.5.
No, all right, listen. I got no comment on this. I had football on. Okay, it wasn't.
I believe you. I believe you.
It wasn't.
I don't.
I had my laptop.
You
like
kind of had to, because Anyway, I wanted to see your start of the week, David Njoku. Did he miss the game?
He didn't even play. Yeah.
He didn't even play. All right. So, do you think David Njoku's a pickup at tight end this week?
He actually, yes. Yeah.
Okay. With Baker playing better.
Better schedule. He in his one game this year, he got 11 fantasy points.
He's just like,
for a tight end.
Hat on the 11
no,
points.
I'm saying for a
no. I'm just saying.
How many good tight ends are there in fantasy?
No, it's
There's
true.
Like
it's true.
5, 6.
Right.
I'm with your boy Darren Waller going down.
And I would also say with the return of Darren. Listen, bro.
I'm just saying he hasn't been great, bro.
Yeah, it's because Tyrell Williams needs to get hurt again. I don't know why they just decided not to throw to Darren Waller anymore. It's kind of annoying. If you have him, he's better than like 90% of the tight ends out there. So
yeah, that's true.
David Njoku is a good ad. He's not a bad ad. I think it's going to affect so Baker's been throwing it a crap ton to Jarvis Landry, and I think the return of David Njoku is going to affect his target share a little bit. But I think he's a good ad. I just don't know how much he's going to get targeted in the offense. So we'll have to see. Everyone wanted a piece of everything Browns in the offseason, and now it's like, please stay away from Browns players altogether.
I know.
But anyway, they're getting better, so we'll see what happens. There's also Mike Gesicki, who our writer Adam Hutchison,
Okay.
he predicted a breakout. He had 28 yards and a touchdown.
Well, G. Whitaker's, that's
Couple of catches. It sounds like a 10,
about
11
10
point game.
points.
There you go. And he's owned in 12% of leagues. If you're desperate, don't have a tight end at all, you need tight end on a week-to-week basis. Watch for the matchups and see if Mike Gesicki would be a good ad. Outside of that, I don't think there's any other tight ends that you want to really get.
Not really.
Is there anyone else you wanted to talk about on the waiver wire part of this program?
I think that's actually it.
Okie dokie. Let's talk about our QB streamers, conclude the show, and keep it rolling, I guess.
And go back to Disney Plus.
Yeah, go back to watching Disney Plus and The Mandalorian. This is not an advertisement.
It could be.
Could be Disney. Sam Darnold is my stream of the week.
Okay.
At quarterback, you're probably going to have a plethora of individuals running to the waiver wire tonight to get Sam Darnold. So if you have that waiver wire budget, I'd slap some money down on Sammy Darnold. And the reason why is because his schedule is about as good as
It can
stepping in dog poop. So,
wow.
Yeah, he's facing some pretty terrible matchups. This is a good test for him against Cincinnati on the road. See if he can actually do well on the road.
Yeah, that's true.
But he does have a lot of easier matchups rest of the season. His Week 16 matchup is bad. But outside of that.
His Week 15 and 16, honestly.
Yeah. So,
but to get you to the playoffs, if you need it, and your first game,
Sam Darnold is a good streamer.
The next 2 weeks are Cincy and Miami, so I think Sam Darnold is a good option. For me, my stream of the week is Nick Foles.
Nick Foles.
I know he hasn't been great.
I did not want to do that.
He had 14 points and then 19.
I felt violated thinking about that.
So you know what I will say though, he didn't turn the ball over this week, and he threw the ball 48 times. So if they do that again this week against Tampa Bay, who ranks 31st against the pass, and it was 32nd, they were the worst team against quarterbacks, but Matt Ryan is like terrible. So
yeah.
So they went from 32 to 31. But it's still a great matchup for Nick Foles, and it's at home.
Yeah.
And the amount of times they've thrown the ball the last 2 weeks, I think he's going to get 20-plus this week.
So tough. I looked at it, and I was like, I should do it. And then I was like, that's so gross. I don't know if I want to do it. That'll do it for our waiver wire ads and streaming options episode. Be sure to listen tomorrow as we discuss booms and busts from Week 12, discuss some matchups from Week 13, and get you ready for Thanksgiving and all that fun stuff.
Ooh.
So be sure to listen. Don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Talk to you tomorrow, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the FF Champs.